Subnautica Fauna Cladogram Part 5. Hello. We finally reached the horizontal swimmers. Of those, the monophthalm are the group I consider to be the first to split from the rest. These aliens are unique due to having only one eye. I theorize that this is a result of two eyes fusing into one, while the other two were lost. This is a very unlikely scenario, but there is a hypothesis that a pineal eye used to be a second pair of eyes that fused. I guess the monophthalma kept the pineal eye but lost the other two instead. The spadefish is the most basal of the monophthalma, as despite its singular massive eye, it still looks like a regular fish. Its body is elongated with fins, gills, and a reasonably long tail. The discus fish is slightly more derived. Reduced fins, reduced organ cavity, and reduced mouth. Although this one case in particular might be because of the symbiotic species of algae it feeds off of, like a leaf sea slug. The crayfish continues this evolutionary trend by becoming less fish-like and more of an orb with an eye. Also, that thing's ecology makes zero sense and it makes me angry, but that will have to wait for a different video. This trend reaches its peak with the eye and the red eye. There is no fish anymore, only eye. What evolutionary pressure this has is beyond me, but it has to be something because disproportionately massive eyes evolved independently 3 separate times on that planet. Now moving on to... I'm not sure what to call this one, so I'll just call them alien fish. Yes, all Xenochordata can technically be called alien fish, but these guys are the fishiest of them all. The most basal of these ones are the biter and the blighter, as they have no fins and have maintained all 4 of their eyes. The river prowler is slightly more derived than those, as it has lost one pair of eyes, though that can also be an adaptation for its environment. I doubt anything uses eyes down there. Upon developing fins, the alien fish split into lobed-finned and ray-finned fish, just like the bony fish of Earth. Starting with a lobed-finned fish, we have two clades that evolved similar features to the vertical swimmers. The conostoma, which is a clade that contains the newtfish and the squid shark, evolved jaws that extend outwards to help with capturing prey, but theirs are less about shooting outwards and more about extending into a cone, hence the name. The way they achieve this is probably similar to how earth snakes stretch their jaws, except the conostomes do that with their upper jaw as well. The other lobed-finned clade is the Brachiophora, which evolved big, robust forelimbs. The sea monkey is perhaps the earliest to split from the rest, or at the very least one that followed a very different evolutionary path. But we'll get to that. I also believe it is the dexterous arms that caused it to develop its high intelligence, as they would allow it to use tools and manipulate its environment. The rest of the Brachiophora fall into the clade Xenotetrapoda. And yes, despite the planet being an ocean world, there are tetrapods, the common ancestor of which is probably something similar to the Cryptosuchus, fully aquatic but with limbs that are probably used to move among water plants. The more amphibian-looking frozen leviathan must have evolved from those early xenotetrapods. I was gonna say that it shows the transition from sea to land, but the thing is the size of a whale, so I don't think it could actually support its weight. Though it is possible that it had a semi-aquatic ancestor that became fully aquatic later. That would also explain the well-developed muscular limbs. We do know, however, that fully terrestrial animals eventually evolved on this planet thanks to the existence of the sky ray. For it to exist, that means somewhere on the planet at some time in its history, some genotetrapods became fully terrestrial, and then at least one species of those became volant. And there is a good reason to assume insects or insect analogues also exist on this planet, because vertebrates evolved flight primarily to catch insects. You might have noticed that I didn't include the stalker in the previous part. That is because, despite swimming vertically, there is absolutely no way that it didn't evolve from the snow stalker. Not that one, the other one. The stalkers of Subnautica are xenotetrapods that became secondarily aquatic. Well, the snow stalker actually became semi-aquatic, with a lifestyle similar to the polar bear. You can see some aquatic adaptations from the snout, but the fur and well-developed limbs show adaptations for land. The regular stalker is fully aquatic, similar to dolphins, or I guess Dorudon, because it doesn't show complex social behavior. The ray-finned aliens have a lot more known species than the lobed-finned ones, the majority of which fall into the clade Orthopterygia, with only 3 species being outside of it. Of those 3, the symbiote and the brood shark are each other's closest relative. They both have an armored head and only 3 fins, features reminiscent of the placoderms of prehistoric Earth, but only very vaguely so. The brine-wing is next, and this creature is so unique that I didn't know how to better classify it. It's like the trivalve all over again, especially with the 6 fins. I don't think I've seen another horizontal swimmer with 6 fins. So I'll just move on to probably my favorite major faunal clade, the Orthopterygia. These are characterized by having only 2 fins, one on their back and one on their underside. A seemingly simple design that led to a large variety of shapes and sizes. They're the ones that make me think about aquarium fish the most, which is probably why I like them so much. The Cyclopterygia are one group of Orthopterygia that has extended their fins so much they basically form a circle around their whole body. The fins of the featherfish only form a partial circle, while those of the hoopfish and spinefish form a complete circle, meaning they are the more derived ones. The rest of the Orthopterygia have reduced mouths, a trait that the Astoma have took to an extreme, as they don't seem to have a mouth at all, though I think they feed on symbiotic bacteria or something. The Reginald is the most basal of the mouthless fish, as it still looks like a regular fish otherwise. On the other hand, the spinnerfish is perhaps the most derived due to its unique way of swimming. This is so bizarre that even the wiki was like, I don't know what's up with that. The bladderfish and the oculus are the closest relatives of one another. They have very similarly structured fins and large eyes. The bladderfish went all in on the highly derived fins and has only moderately larger eyes, while the oculus has massive eyes and only the fins it requires to move around. The closest relatives of the Astoma are the Tripoichthyes, a group that contains the hallfish and the titan hallfish. Their mouths are tiny but very much still present, and most importantly they have a circular hole in the middle of their bodies. Yet another nonsensical feature. I can't even tell where their spine and organs are. Anyway, let's move on. We're almost done. I wanted to save this clade for last. The final group of animals I will talk about are the megalophthalma, a group that contains the arrow ray, the peeper, and the Arctic peeper. Many animals on this planet have independently evolved massive eyes, but these are the ones defined by that feature. The arrow ray is relatively basal, as it still has a relatively long body and well-developed fins. The peepers are more derived, having reduced fins, reduced bodies, and going all in on the eyes. I think I also saw a peeper blink at one point. An odd trait for a fish to evolve, but eyelids aren't unheard of. Peepers are the mascots of Subnautica as a whole, making them perhaps the most iconic creatures in that setting so far, which is why I wanted to end with them specifically. So that was it. The series is now complete. I really enjoyed making it, especially coming up with all those group names, which was actually easy because Greek is my first language. I had the idea all the way back in college, but that version was messy and bad. This is the definitive version. And it's already outdated because a new game came out. And no, I won't cover that one. Not anytime soon, at least. But if more than one videos in this series get 1,000 likes or more, I will attempt to make a Monster Hunter Fauna Cladogram. Yet another idea I had in college that I would like to revisit. Whatever the case, I will make videos on other topics if I have a good enough idea, but I won't be uploading as soon as I did these past few weeks. I hope I see you again. Goodbye.